everybody, welcome back to the Addicted Motors YouTube channel, After Hours. Now, this started, well, let me back up a little bit. The Classic was never supposed to be under the knife, and I think the fact that it's awesome new, very convenient in the new house, the new garage setup, and the carport area, which is now the project zone, the area where stuff can just sit without a due date for completion and not clog up the rest of my automotive operation here. But what happened was, there's an ARB here. I got an ARB from my buddy Southern Overland Co. Down there in Winston-Salem, South Carolina. He bought a cool parts truck. I always wanted an ARB for the Classic, just off the look. Finally got one. Took off the bumper and all this kind of fun stuff. And, was kind of feeling around the engine bay. So something you should never do. If you're ever bored, don't go touching and feeling around your old Land Rover or Range Rover, because you'll inevitably find things you don't want to find, and I'll show you what I found. Now, I've pulled off the fan shroud and the clutch fan itself, two things that I have replaced in the past. I won't go into that. It was easy. It came off fairly easily due to the fact that I've had it off before. So I'm not going to go into that aspect of this job. But also I flushed the radiator, and currently has the radiator flush in it, which I have to get out. But I don't want to flush the radiator and then have to do the water pump. And I didn't think I'd have to do the water pump, but then I don't think your water pump pulley is supposed to be that loose. So what I did is I ordered a flow cooler water pump, which is supposed to be one of the best ones on the market, as well as thermostat. I don't know if I want to put the thermostat in. I'm assuming this one already has a 180-degree thermostat, but that might help this thing run just a little bit cooler. Again, the coolant in it is probably 25 years old. The engine bay is untouched, so 25 years old. I have done nothing besides fluids and some filters. The distribution cap, the spark plug wires, the plugs themselves, everything, including the coolant, is 25-ish years old, whatever the inspection sticker had on this truck. So that's not in yet. The parts aren't in yet, so it's just going to be a little bit of disassembly, I think, until that stuff makes it in. Now, I don't have my microphone, but this is a pretty cool setup. I installed some cheap Amazon garage lights in the carport. So we have a very viable area for longer term projects. Again, they don't clog up the works, which, it helps as a bit of a motivator to go a little bit deeper into projects that you might not have tackled before. So, I'm lucky enough to be able to have a little bit of extra space, and so that's what we're kind of doing here. Probably why I hadn't flushed or messed around with the coolant on this truck before. It never ran perfectly, but it wasn't ever overheating or anything, so I didn't mess with it. But I think the setup itself is cool enough to warrant the activity. So let's see how that looks, at least when I start it up. Now, it doesn't look that bad, but it's not great either. Shut it off. Now again, it's not something I have to do. I mean, that would have been fine, I think, forever until it wasn't fine. That's actually not what's, I think my power steering pump's probably making more noise than the water pump, but it's while you're in there, it's just gonna head take it off and hopefully just slap the new one back on. So I'm not doing this as a DIY video because I'm probably gonna do some stop motion sped up action of it, but the pulley here, it's not very obvious. There's a 13mm screw down here you have to loosen, and then that loosens up this belt, and then you can pull the belt off the water pump. I replaced these belts years ago, so they're all okay. They're not amazing, but I don't have to do it again. I don't think so. Just remember, check those out, make sure they're still good. This one actually has a couple cracks in it. Maybe this isn't, maybe I didn't do this one. Yeah, this one's Land Rover on it. In Germany. Yeah, it's fine.
Switch it up.
Now, I stopped doing what I was doing there for a second because I felt it. I'm like, oh, that feels okay, but yeah, I just didn't have the right leverage, and that thing's still too loose. So we're gonna continue on, at least, you know, loosening everything. My goal for tonight is just get this just free of everything else. I think that's where we're gonna start. All right, so I have the first idler out. It's still draining out some coolant. I think those have made contact with some coolant jackets. These two bolts, they're not really 13s. They're kind of like 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna be careful putting those back in, just kind of taking some mental notes. Leaving all the bolts in place with everything. I've read that's crucial to putting everything back together. Now this is gonna be a little more involved, I think, than I realized. I'm gonna have to take some more pulleys, the power steering pump tensioner and stuff off too. So this is not gonna be just a one-night project. So it's day 2 or 3 of this little job, and it's kind of escalated because it's a pretty annoying job. It's an annoying piece of effort that needs to go into taking off this water pump, because the water pump is here, but it's also here and back there. And there's just more junk that needs to get removed that could potentially break or snap, which just creates risk. And when it creates risk, it potentially makes the car not be able to run. You know, this thing snowballs, especially if you're not a professional mechanic and you can only work on things a couple hours at a time. So I digress. So now I need to remove the bolts around the pulley that is associated with the fuel pump, not the fuel pump, the power steering pump. To get that out of the way, it needs to be removed so the water pump can come right off. So I'm going to try to get the rest of those loose now, and yeah, you know, swing that back out of the way. Again, there's just a lot of things to remove in this mess. You know, you got to, the adjustment retainer here needs to come off, so that's kind of slid up out of the way. I think the coil might even need to come out, so you got to make sure that I line the marks up on that. And I might have to pull this legitimately the whole pulley off of the power steering pump to get to the nut that's back there. So again, it's just way more. It's very annoying. It's a lot of work. And coolant jackets everywhere. That's just one that came out of that power steering pulley bracket. All right, so I think I've got everything off. The I rotated the bracket for the tensioner for the power steering off, and looks like I've got to unscrew. So the biggest thing is not losing any of these bolt positions. And all right, the gasket just came right off too, and there's the old one, and looks pretty good. Doesn't look bad in there. There's that play. You can tell there's a little bit of deterioration happening, but all in all, it looks pretty darn good. It wasn't leaking or anything, which, I'm not saying is a shame, but it was very functional. So not too mad about how that came off. Hello and welcome back. We are back. So what we've done in the meantime is wait for this freaking thing to come in from California. This is the flow cooler impellered water pump. I'm putting a very nice water pump on a very not nice truck, but that's sometimes what is going on with this. We had to wait about 4 or 5 weeks for some reason for them to make the impeller for it. Now it's here, it's arrived, it came with the gasket, and we're gonna go ahead and try to put this in because this job has taken way longer than I wanted it to. It came with the gasket. We're gonna use sealer on both the pump side and the motor side, and just go ahead and start getting this all sorted. We've left the bolts in place on the old ones, try to clean them up a little bit to ensure that we've got the proper fitment. Yeah, and that's it. We're just gonna try to slap it on. I'm not going to think about this too much. I hope that I got everything sorted as far as my bolt placements and whatnot. I did blow out any coolant or anything that's left in those other jackets. And yep, we're just going to send it. All right, so water pump's on. I think I got everything snugged up, tightened up, 28 newton meters, maybe a little tighter, maybe a little bit looser. I don't know, that thing wasn't doing its thing. This bolt, the one that goes in the water jacket, did not want to go all the way in. And I think there's just a bunch of crud in there. So I put some washers on and I put some extra schmoo on, and we're just gonna let that one dry and think about its life. We're gonna go back and put the rest of the accessories and bits and bobs on and start snugging up the rest of everything. Definitely going to start the engine and make sure it's not leaking prior to putting everything back on, but we're going to just keep this one going. So a good time to replace the belts. I've got new belts over there. I want to make sure that the power steering pump and everything, make sure that belt's going to be nice and tight as well while that is off, because I think mine was pretty loose. So come a few while you're in theirs, as all jobs are. All right, so everything's in there. This is, man, for the best or for the worst for the best. Got it all hooked up. And we're just gonna dump some coolant in it. Check for leaks. This is the least fun part. This is where I found out if my day is gonna be good. And my days sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit. So that's what's happening right now. Probably gonna be shit. All right. see any pissing leaks yet. Let's check back after it sucks the rest of the so much quieter now that I don't have, I guess, bad pulleys or something. These new belts, I don't know. It's absurdly quiet, more quiet than it was before. Alright, so she's all buttoned up. There's no leaks. It's running great. I think my only issue is I don't know if I might have clogged up my old thermostat. I have a new one, but it's reading about 200 at the engine side, and right where the thermostat should be, it's reading a little bit cooler on the other side, and the temp keeps popping up. So we're gonna play with that later. Maybe we can just see if we can coax it to stay, to open up. So we'll play thermostat games later, but this was not that bad of a job. I think I was fairly successful overall with the total process involved with replacing the thermostat, replacing the water pump. Again, this all happens because I want to put an ARB on it, and here I did a whole large corrective on this truck that I don't drive that much. So the thermostat's probably gonna be next. Like all cooling things system related, we're playing cooling system games. Again, flow cooler, water pump, and all that fun stuff's in there now. Made a big mess, had a little fun. I gotta revisit it in a little bit because I got stuff to do. All right, welcome back, and it's me again, Land Rovers. So, when we last spoke, I just got the new flow cooler water pump fitted up to the old Range Rover Classic. And I've since then done a lot of running tests, determine what my temperatures were to see if it made any differences. And again, I didn't replace it because it was leaking. It was not leaking and drop. I replaced it because the bearing had gone out and it was making a good bit of noise. So that's been done. And what I've been doing for the past few minutes is running them simultaneously. Two Range Rover 3.9s running head to head next to each other, that truck and this truck, to see what that idling temp is. One has a flushed radiator, a new fan clutch, flow cooler 180 degree thermostat, and this one has a flow cooler water pump, probably an original thermostat, flushed radiator, a new fan clutch. This one running around 166, 170. It's about 70 degrees. Very nice day. This one running 175 to 190. A little bit of fluctuation there. So I'm going to do the thermostat. I don't feel like this one's functioning. It could do nothing, but I'm going to do it. I bought one when I bought the water pump. So we're going to do it. We'll see if that does anything. See if it helps. And why did I get a 160? Y'all are going to be in the comments going, that's not the right. Shut up. I don't care. They didn't have the one it needs in stock, so I got a 160. Rovers usually run hot. I don't care. I don't care. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. But I do have to drain the system again. Real excited about that. So let's jump into it. Do it again. More games, cooling systems, Land Rovers. All I want to do is put the winch on the truck. Okay? That's really the only reason why I'm here. I wanted to put the ARB and the winch on it. And now I'm redoing the whole cooling system. If you don't understand that logic, you're not in this game. All right, so word to the wise, the flow cooler thermostat does not come with a new thermostat gasket, but let's take a look at what I pulled out. And man, someone got really excited with the maker gasket filler on this T-stat. Looks original, actually. If it'll focus, if it will focus, if it will focus, come here. But kind of gunky and just, worth replacing. I'm sure it still works. All these old thermostats that I've screwed around with have all still been functional. They just weren't functioning at an optimal level. I don't know. I just feel better doing it. So we're going to find a new gasket. O'Reilly's actually has it in stock. Do that and keep going. Alrighty, so new thermostat's in. I didn't remove the coil or anything like that. I was just kind of able to thread the needle with the 13 millimeters to pretty much get everything back in place. Had to look for a second thermostat gasket because the first one was incorrect. So this is all good together. It's partially filled up. We're gonna fire it up, check for leaks, and maybe one day we'll put this bumper on. I don't know. Let's see how many more things we can diag and fix in the meantime. All right, so I don't see any leaks. Unfortunately, there's enough coolant in the valley for me removing the old thermostat that I won't be able to see build up, but I should be able to see drops. But we're gonna let this thing heat up, bleed itself out, fill it up, and on to the next step. All right, so thermostat is in, truck is running, I'm letting it warm up. You know, my testing, my bar for a proper cooling system is idling with the truck running. This is, you know, I'm replicating going on a trail run and being stuck somewhere and just idling for a long time where you cut a tree down or doing something like that. And that's what my bar is for the temperatures that I want to see. So again, 60 degree thermostat, yes, it's too low. But I feel like I want the truck to be able to safely idle. The truck is a 30-something-year-old radiator. I'm sure that probably needs to be replaced, so that might counteract it. But let's see what I'm looking at. It's been running like this 20 minutes. I drove it around. See what it looks like. All right, yeah, 170. I like that. I like that a lot. I got old radiator, top hose, 170 also. She's flowing. Bottom hose, 150, 160. All that looks good. I mean, you can get different readings on different parts of the thermostat as well. I always try to get it as close to the housing, 175. So, you know, like I said, that's fine. I think that's what I want to see. I don't want it much more than that. Yeah, so the thermostat's open, it's flowing, we're circulating the coolant. The temperatures are even enough to make me happy. I'm not worried about the truck just sitting idling for long periods of time. And I might have solved my issue. And the other thing is I'm gonna have restricted airflow with this ARB and the lights and the winch and everything. So that's kind of what I just want things to be right. I don't like failures when I go do things. I'm having another kid, so I'll never be able to do anything again, but I can pretend that's what I'm here for, right? But yeah, it's all gonna be restricted in there, so I'm gonna make sure at least the truck is cooling as efficiently as possible. Now, just like that knife show, we've proven, you know, will it cut? Will it run? Yes, the car will run, and it's now sufficient. So will it function? And the function will be winch. So I've got that 8,000 Warn winch off of the Land Cruiser that I sold. I want to pop on this bad boy. Now, my concern, I haven't wired anything up yet. It's still all provisional. It's heavy, man. That thing's heavy. This bumper's heavy, and this old truck on this 20, 30-year-old suspension is going to sag even more. So that's going to be a bit of the bummer. This is going to be a snowball effect of things I'm going to have to do just because I want to make a little upgradey boy. Which, that's the unfortunate part about playing with off-road trucks. It never ends. Just keeps going. So, ARB is installed, winch is installed, max is not installed, power steering pump has uninstalled itself. I'll drop a clip right here of what it does now that the extra weight has been there. So I've just created triple the work for myself, as one does with Land Rover things. You know, we might as well just rebuild the whole car at this point. So, you know, to add this ARB, we redid pretty much most of the cooling system, did the rest of the stuff, and then we exploded the power steering pump. So this is a good day with Land Rovers. Please like and subscribe. Glad you watched this whole disaster. Have a good day.